Signs with orange backgrounds are A. General warning signs. B. Construction and maintenance warning signs. C. Regulatory signs. B. Construction and maintenance warning signs. The color orange is used only for construction and maintenance warning signs. When stopped at a red traffic light with a green arrow, you may proceed in the direction of the arrow if you A. First come to a complete stop. B. Wait until the light changes. C. Are in the proper lane and the intersection is clear. C. Are in the proper lane and the intersection is clear. You may proceed in the direction that a green arrow signal is pointing if you are in the proper lane, regardless of any other signals that are displayed. Before turning, you must yield the right-of-way to pedestrians and vehicles already within the intersection. This sign means A. Yield the right-of-way. B. No passing zone. C. Reduction in lanes. A. Yield the right-of-way. A triangular red and white sign indicates that you must yield the right-of-way. This sign means A. Side road. B. Merge. C. Yield the right-of-way. A. Side road. This sign indicates that there is an intersection with a side road ahead.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
This is the shape and color of a fill in the blank sign. A. Stop. B. Wrong way. C. Yield. C. Yield. Downward-facing triangular signs mean drivers must yield. When approaching a yield sign, slow down to a speed that is reasonable for existing conditions and stop if necessary. If you must stop, do so at a marked stop line, if it exists. To improve visibility lowered by rain or fog, drivers should use their A. Low beam headlights. B. High beam headlights. C. Parking lights. A. Low beam headlights. Use low beam headlights when driving in rain, snow, sleet, or fog. High beam headlights in adverse weather conditions lower visibility by reflecting off the precipitation and back into the driver's eyes. You must obey instructions from school crossing guards. A. At all times. B. Only during school hours. C. Unless you do not see any children present. A. At all times. Drivers should be alert to the presence of crossing guards when near a school and must always obey their instructions. If weather or light conditions require you to have your lights on while driving. A. Use your parking lights. B. Use your high beams. C. Use your low beams. C. Use your low beams. Use your low beam headlights when driving in foggy, snowy, or rainy conditions. Light from high beam headlights will reflect back, causing glare and making it even more difficult to see ahead. When driving under low visibility conditions due to fog, you should A. Turn on your high beam headlights. B. Slow down and use your low beam headlights. C. Increase your speed so you do not cause an accident. B. Slow down and use your low-beam headlights. When driving in fog, you should slow down and use your low-beam lights. If the fog is so dense that you cannot see, pull off the road and wait for the fog to clear. When a school bus is picking up or dropping off children, you must A. Stop, regardless of your direction of travel. B. Stop if you are driving in the same direction. C. Slow down and be prepared to stop. A. Stop, regardless of your direction of travel. When approaching a school bus that is picking up or dropping off passengers, you must come to a complete stop before reaching the bus, regardless of your direction of travel. What does this road sign indicate? A. Directions for children. B. School zone ahead. C. Playground area ahead. B. School zone ahead. Pentagonal signs indicate that you are in or are approaching a school zone and/or school crossing. Be aware of children when driving near a school zone and follow posted speed limits. When driving at night, you should A. Always use your high beams. B. Look directly at the headlights of an oncoming vehicle. C. Increase your following distance. C. Increase your following distance. Increase your following distance when it is difficult to see due to darkness. Use headlights to increase visibility, following the rules for proper use of high beams and low beams. Avoid looking directly at the headlights of an oncoming vehicle to avoid being blinded by the glare. When you see this sign, you A. Are approaching a railroad crossing and should prepare to stop. B. Will always stop at the upcoming railroad crossing. C. Should stop and wait for a signal before crossing the railroad tracks. A. Are approaching a railroad crossing and should prepare to stop. This sign indicates that you are approaching a railroad crossing. You must look, listen, slow down, and prepare to stop. Wait for any trains to pass before you proceed. This sign means A. No left turn can be made here. B. A left turn can be made only after stopping. C. All traffic must turn right at the next intersection. A. No left turn can be made here. Signs with a red circle and diagonal line over a black symbol indicate that the action represented by the symbol is prohibited. In this case, the sign indicates that left turns are prohibited. The driver ahead of you stops at a crosswalk. What should you do? A. Cautiously pass the vehicle at 10 miles per hour or slower. B. Stop, proceeding only when all the pedestrians have crossed. C. Change lanes, look carefully, and pass the stopped vehicle. B. Stop, proceeding only when all the pedestrians have crossed. You must not pass a vehicle that is stopped at a crosswalk. There may be pedestrians crossing the street that you cannot see. Instead, stop, proceeding only after all pedestrians have crossed. When changing lanes. A. Rely on the rear-view mirror. B. Look over your shoulder in the direction you plan to move. C. Rely on the left side mirror. B. Look over your shoulder in the direction you plan to move. When changing lanes, glance over your shoulder to check for traffic in your blind spot. You may need to look several times before changing lanes. You must keep track of what traffic is doing in front of you as well as what traffic is doing in the lane next to you. Before changing lanes or attempting to pass another vehicle, you should: A. Check your blind spots and mirrors. B. Signal your intention before changing lanes. C. All of the above. C. All of the above. Every time you want to change lanes or otherwise move your vehicle to the right or left, signal to alert other drivers to your intentions. Always check your mirrors and turn your head to check your blind spot before attempting any lateral move. This sign means: A. Stop sign ahead. B. Railroad crossing ahead. C. Construction ahead. B. Railroad crossing ahead. A round sign always indicates that you are approaching a railroad crossing. In traffic moving at 50 to 55 miles per hour, you are least likely to have an accident if you: A. Drive a few miles per hour faster than most other vehicles. B. Stay within that speed range. C. Drive a few miles per hour slower than most other vehicles. B. Stay within that speed range. You should adjust your speed to travel smoothly with the other traffic on a roadway, provided that the other traffic is driving within the posted speed limits. Remember that vehicles moving in the same direction at the same speed cannot hit each other. Crashes involving multiple vehicles often happen when some vehicles are traveling at different speeds than others. Extra space in front of a large truck is needed for: A. Other drivers to merge onto the freeway. B. The truck driver to stop the vehicle. C. Other drivers when they want to slow down. B. The truck driver to stop the vehicle. Because they are larger, trucks take longer to stop than cars traveling at the same speed. Other drivers should not pull in front of a truck and then slow down or stop. Which of the following statements is true? A. Driving too slowly is not an unsafe practice. B. Driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous. C. The speed at which you drive a vehicle does not affect safety. B. Driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous. Driving too slowly can be dangerous because it may cause drivers behind you to become frustrated and make dangerous moves to pass you. It is safest to drive with the flow of traffic, within the legal speed limit. This white sign means you should not pass other vehicles. A. Until after you pass the sign. B. Unless it seems safe to do so. C. For any reason. C. For any reason. A white rectangular sign indicates that you must obey the stated rule. This sign means that drivers should not pass other vehicles for any reason. While driving at night, a vehicle coming toward you has its high beams on, making it hard for you to see the road ahead. You should: A. Look ahead toward the left edge of your lane. B. Look ahead toward the right edge of your lane. C. Look straight ahead in your lane. B. Look ahead toward the right edge of your lane. If an oncoming driver fails to dim their high beams, you should avoid looking directly at the headlights. Instead, look toward the right edge of your lane and watch the oncoming vehicle out of the corner of your eye. If you approach a stopped school bus that has its lights flashing and signal arm extended, you should: A. Stop. B. Proceed at 15 miles per hour if no children are present. C. Proceed at normal speed, but watch for children. A. Stop. If you approach a stopped school bus that has its lights flashing and arm extended, you must come to a full stop and remain stopped until the signal arm is pulled back and the bus resumes motion. This law applies whether you are traveling in the same direction as the bus or if you are approaching from the opposite side of the street. Check your rear-view mirrors. A. Often to see how traffic is moving behind you. B. To see if a vehicle is in your blind spot. C. Only when you are slowing down. It is dangerous to follow a motorcycle too closely because A. They do not follow the same rules as motor vehicles. B. A motorcycle can stop much faster than a standard vehicle. C. They brake more slowly than motor vehicles. B. A motorcycle can stop much faster than a standard vehicle. Motorcycles can stop quickly and following them too closely endangers your life and that of the motorcyclist. If the motorcyclist makes a mistake, you need to have enough time and space to avoid a crash. This sign tells a driver that A. A construction flagger is ahead. B. A police officer is ahead. C. A parking attendant is ahead. A. A construction flagger is ahead. This sign warns that there is a flag person ahead. Always follow directions given by a flagger. Flaggers normally wear orange or yellow vests, yellow-green shirts, or bright jackets. They use paddles and red flags to direct traffic through the work zone and to let workers or construction vehicles cross the road. There is no crosswalk and you see a pedestrian crossing your lane ahead. You should A. Make eye contact with and then pass the pedestrian. B. Slow down as you pass the pedestrian. C. Stop and let the pedestrian finish crossing the street. C. Stop and let the pedestrian finish crossing the street. At an intersection where traffic is not controlled by traffic signal lights, drivers are required to yield the right-of-way to pedestrians within any crosswalk, marked or unmarked. Even if there is no crosswalk, yield to the pedestrian. When you are merging onto the freeway, you should be driving A. At or near the speed of traffic on the freeway. B. 5 to 10 miles per hour slower than the speed of traffic on the freeway. C. The posted speed limit for freeway traffic. A. At or near the speed of traffic on the freeway. When merging onto a freeway, you should enter at or near the speed of traffic. If you want to enter the freeway but you don't see a gap in traffic, you should A. Maintain your speed and force the other drivers to create a gap. B. Slow down on the ramp to wait for a gap. C. Stop at the end of the ramp to wait for a gap. B. Slow down on the ramp to wait for a gap. If you want to enter the freeway but do not see a space for your vehicle in traffic, slow down on the ramp to wait for a gap. Do not drive to the end of the ramp and wait for a gap or you will not have enough room to accelerate to the speed of traffic before entering the roadway.